because they are the transient aspect of life. So there is suffering, yes, but you don't suffer because you are the space in which suffering takes place. But there is if suffering comes up, you feel the suffering. Because suffering is in your space, so it is in your core, in your being. You will feel it, because it is in you. But you are not the suffering. So that is a liberation. But I can tell you, instead of being immediately a very peaceful, balanced, and harmonious person, if you open up, it's not only the nice things of life which come in your space, but also the nasty ones. And a peculiar thing must be mentioned here. If you open up and you become more and more and more space, together with it, your ego control subsides. Can you imagine? Your ego is this restricted, narrow, controlling agent in your personality. That is what you really, of what you are, before you become aware. After becoming aware, you become space. It is opening up. And with more and more extension, the ego cannot live in that environment anymore. So its boundaries become more loose and loose and loose because of this extension which takes place. Can you imagine what I mean? And losing its grip on you. But that means losing its grip on you also means it loses its control. And then you also discover, oh, my ego wasn't altogether negative. It also took care of the fact that I wasn't overwhelmed with fear all the time. It had a function to suppress it. To suppress those fears which are simply too strong for you to digest. So I suddenly discovered a positive function of the ego. If you don't understand or you want to interfere, please tell me, huh?
Could you repeat the ego point one more time you just made?
Yeah, this one?
Yeah, if you could.
The ego has a function to control the subconscious. That is what I had discovered. So the ego is very afraid to be overwhelmed by pain, anger, fear, angst. The ego is very keen on that it will not be overwhelmed by the emotions from the subconscious.
You're saying that basically, we have different models. Some people say the right brain is conscious, the left brain. Other people say the cortex is conscious, the rest of the body is subconscious.
Exactly.
There's something called the ego is in between.
Exactly.
As a filter or as a controller?
Exactly, as a controller.
A controller.
Exactly.
And basically I've heard sometimes defense mechanisms could be considered the ego, and it could give you anxiety or depression or neurosis.
Exactly.
And that's what's doing to protect you.
Exactly.
And while it protects you, it still fucks you at the same time.
Exactly. Exactly. So usually it is only considered as negative because it is an obstacle on the way to liberation. You have to get rid of your ego.
So then you have to kill the ego.
Exactly. So that is what most people say. On the spiritual path, you have to get rid of your ego.
Is that what Buddha says basically if you meet Buddha walking, kill him?
Yeah, because you identify with Buddha as an image.
Or your ego.
Or your ego.
You have to kill him.
Exactly. Because if you identify with the Buddha, it becomes an obstacle towards your liberation. So you have to kill the Buddha.
And what's the best way to kill the ego?
You should not kill it at all.
Or reduce it?
You embrace
Embrace it?
it.
So you're saying the ego can protect you from being overwhelmed?
Exactly.
Overwhelmed
Exactly. From
That's the purpose.
that is one of its functions, and that is you're going to discover if you open up and the ego loses its grip.
You just have to learn to control the ego.
No. The solution is already there because you are already space at that moment. So the function of control has been taken over with your awareness. So the situation becomes more or less that you are a mother sitting on the bench, watching her child playing in the sand, controlling by not controlling. The mother is not interfering with the play, but she knows every second what her child is doing. You understand what I mean? So there is a new kind of control taking over. That's why the ego, increasingly has no function anymore.